We are blessed to have Paul Camry come and speak with us today. He has been a friend of Job Club for years and is wonderful in helping everybody find their next job. I can't recommend him highly enough. He's a great speaker. He is drivestaff.com, the principal at drivestaff.com. He also has a great website called speedupmyjobsearch.com with a lot of helpful advice and videos on there to help you with your job search. Paul's a tech recruiter, but he does a lot to help many job seekers in many professions. And I don't want to take much time because I want to make sure to give enough time to Paul. One thing I just want to say, though, is when you leave this meeting before you start your weekend, please try and implement one of the things that Paul will be suggesting, because I find you pick up a lot of good tips and then you often don't have the time or opportunity to forget about them and follow up. So inspiration is good. The inspiration combined with action is so much better. So without further ado, Paul.
Great, thanks. Thank you, Sarah. What I'm going to talk about today is job search hacks. Does everybody know what a hack is?
Yeah, it's like hacking a computer.
Well, not necessarily like hacking a computer, but like doing a common thing, a common process in an uncommon way. Is kind of my own personal definition to that. And there's lots of, you see those life hacks out there. There's lots of little ones out there. Like my favorites that I use. I don't know if you're all familiar with these or not, but like if you get into an elevator, it doesn't work every time, but you get in an elevator and you press the door close button and your floor number at the same time, you'll get an express elevator to whatever floor that is, so you don't get stopped along the way. Really cool life hack. If you've got a particular beverage you want to cool down and not get it all watery, put some grapes in the freezer, freeze the grapes, put the grapes in there. Maybe if there's some wine drinkers that want to cool down their wine, it's an interesting way to cool it down without getting it watery. Or you got hard water stains, just cut a lemon in half and put it on your faucet or whatever's got hard water stains. It'll get rid of it immediately. Lots of little hacks and tricks that you can do to fix things. And we're going to apply that same kind of idea to the job search process. And the reason that we want to do this, obviously, is so we can get some results faster and easier, but more so is to confirm the idea in your own mind that job search is a process. Right? This is not a gamble. It's not a big set of circumstances that luck has to fall into place at the right time in the right place and market conditions and so on and so forth. If you follow a process and a structure and a methodology to finding a position and you execute that plan by a set of behaviors on a daily basis, you're going to land faster. It's not up for debate. You will land faster if you do these things. And your daily behaviors impact how quickly you can land. And that does a couple of things for you. And I talk a lot about with speedupmyjobsearch.com a behavior-based job search. And what that's going to do for you is not only get you there faster, but it helps your psyche. It helps your mindset through the process, because if you know that you're doing the right things on a daily basis, it helps eliminate a lot of the stress. You know you're doing the right things every day, so you're taken out of that. Is this going to work or not? It's kind of like a diet. Like, I'm sure we've all went on a diet at some point. The first day of a diet, you get up early, you exercise, you drink the 20 gallons of water or whatever they recommend you drink through the day, and you eat right, and you go to bed early, and you get up the next day and you see that you've not lost a pound, right? And you're like, oh, okay, kind of frustrating, but you don't throw your hands up and say, oh, this diet stuff doesn't work. This is ridiculous. Just eating right and exercising, this is never going to help me. Right? You know that if you do the right things, it's going to get you there. It's the same idea with the job search process. You know you're doing the right things, it's going to help you get there. And it helps to give you hope. So it builds your endurance. I say like a rat because there was a wonderful example that I'll give full credit. The pastor of our church, I go to Christ Church in Oak Brook, he used this example, and I'm going to borrow it here, where there was an experiment that he referenced at, I believe it was Harvard, where they took rats. They got a grant for this. I don't know why you would get a grant for this, but they took rats and they would see how long they could tread water. All right? Interesting thing to know. So they put the rat in a tub of water, to see how long it would tread water before it finally succumbed and went under. And the average was somewhere between 8 and 15 minutes, right? Even the Michael Phelps of the rat world couldn't go longer than 15 minutes. So now they had that information. They conducted the experiment again, except this time, right as the rat was about to go under, the person conducting the experiment would reach in, scoop the rat out, dry it off, let it rest for a little bit, feed it, let it get its strength back, and then they would conduct it again. This time, every single one of the rats could tread water longer than 15 minutes. All of them. Any guesses how much longer? An extra 15 minutes? Extra an hour, you think? It could tread water a full hour? The rats averaged 60 hours treading water. Because they had hope. Because they knew that what they were doing, they were going to get saved from it. Which led to a wonderful sermon from the pastor at Christ Church. But it kind of applies here too. You know, if you apply that to your job search, if you know that, hey, if I do these things, it's going to work. I just have to do them. That's going to help you get through. So I'm going to give you a bunch of hacks here today that you can use and apply to your job search. And I will tell you, they're only going to work for you if you try them, right? So just like she was saying, you've got to put action behind this or they're not going to work for you. My challenge to you is to pick one of these hacks, any one of them or multiples of them, and then when you leave here, tell someone that you're going to try it. All right, now that's totally up to you. It's your choice whether you do that or not. You know, when you walk out of here, you can say nothing to somebody or you can choose to tell somebody, and both of those options are going to cost you the exact same amount of money. Right? You're not going to be any more tired telling somebody or not telling somebody, but one of those choices is going to have a huge impact on your job search. So I would highly recommend you tell someone as you walk out of here, I'm going to try this week and see if it works. Okay? So these are the 4 areas that I'm going to jump into as far as hackable areas. There's lots more than this, but these are the 4 I chose for today. Networking, interviews, connecting with employers, and social media. And so you all know, these slides will be available if you go to speedupmyjobsearch.com/hacks. I'll have the slides there. They're not there yet, but they're going to be there this afternoon. And I've got lots of other, little videos and things that you can watch to help explain some of the concepts I'm going to give you here today. So the first one, networking. Why networking? We always talk about, networking is the best way to find a job, right? 75% of the jobs are found through networking, but I don't know that necessarily motivates people to get out and network more, right? So why is this so powerful?
Like I said before, it's not what you know or who you know, it's who knows you.
Right, it's who knows you.
If they don't know you, how are they going to be able to help you?
Right, if they don't know you, how are they going to be able to help you? Well, what specifically can networking do for you in the job search process versus just sitting at home applying online all day? Tony.
Save time.
Save time how?
Networking, saving time, basically, it just it causes me to save my time trying to figure out who's the right person to talk to network with.
Right. You're going to bypass the screening process.
Right.
That saves you time. Yes, Leanne.
It can open doors for you. Example, my last job came from a guy I'd worked with a long time before, who I let know I was looking. I found him on my phone one day saying, "What are you doing, Leanne?" I said, "Looking for a job." And he said, "I can help."
So trustworthy referrals can get you through the door faster. Yes.
Accountability. Because
Accountability.
1 week you say, I'm looking for this and I'm doing all this paperwork and so on, and then the next week somebody asks you, so how did it go?
Right.
Accountability.
Or perhaps you tell them, I'm going to try this hack this week, and then they say, hey, did it? Right.
There's also
But absolutely, yeah.
aspect that's great to the community.
And the encouragement, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So that's a piece I think we miss a lot of, we got to network more. Well, why are we networking? Well, because you're going to bypass the screening process. You're going to get trustworthy referrals because there's so much more to the process of resumes become less important because now it's more like, oh, by the way, can you send your resume in? versus sending your resume in and hoping that that gets you the interview. Right? So networking absolutely is the best way into these companies. So I want to give you a couple of quick networking hacks that will help you to maximize your time in networking. So let's say hypothetically, well, this is kind of a weird way to put this. Hypothetically, if you're a project manager or in a leadership position, and or if you're an individual contributor, the people that you want to network with, who do you feel it's most important for you to network with? Leanne, yes.
I'll go for professional associations. Just
Okay.
I'll have one available to us or more.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's a fantastic idea, and we're going to come back to that idea.
And
Yes.
my question is, do we have to pick?
Oh, no, definitely not.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel is you're out, you see someone, you're networking, no matter who it is.
Yep, absolutely. You're right. But we also want to add a little element of intentionality to it. If that's a word, intentionalness. You want to be intentional about who you're selecting, who you're going to be networking with. And one thing that will make you more attractive as a candidate is if you are more than just one, if that makes sense. You're a more valuable hire. So, for example, if you are in a leadership position, a lot of times they will open up a leadership position knowing that there's going to be 3 or 4 positions open underneath that person once they get the manager in place. Right? I get those calls all the time as a recruiter where they say, hey, we've got these 5 positions that are going to open, but we want to hire the manager first. All right, so if you could walk in as that manager and say, just so you know, if you need anyone in these software development positions that would be underneath me on this team, I've already interviewed 5 or 6 people who I feel like I have a good chemistry with that I could bring with me. Now they're looking at you as not just one hire, but somebody who would also bring 4 or 5 hires with them. Does that make sense? So as a manager, if you could network with people who are individual contributors who would potentially be on your team, that makes you a more valuable hire. And then you tell those individual contributors, hey, by the way, this is what I'm planning to do, is I'm going to bring these people with me, and I'm going to mention that in my interviews. So if you hear of any companies that are looking for somebody at my level, let me know about it, because then maybe I can help you get in. Does that make sense? So if you're an individual contributor, try to find people who you would work for at these networking groups. If you're a manager, look for people who would potentially be working for you, and both of you could supply leads to one another and say, by the way, if I see a position like that, and then you hear of them needing a leader, let me know. And now you've got people in the same department that could help supply leads for you. Does that make sense? Okay. So how do you start conversations with people and get sincere results out of it? A lot of time you walk in there and your kind of mindset is, well, I really need stuff for me, but I guess I got to give them help, and how do I do that? How do I help them when I really don't want to help them? I want them to help me, and you've got this conversation going on in your head. You want to get, wow, my whole slide comes up at the same time. Awesome. So you want to develop rapport with them first. And the way to develop rapport with people is to create sincere conversations. And rather than asking them for an informational interview or introductions to people or, hey, what can you do for me kind of questions, one of the most effective job search questions you can ask is, hey, I was hoping you can give me some advice about my job search. Because I can tell you from experience from where I'm sitting, where I talk to people about speedupmyjobsearch.com and ideas on how to interview and things like that, a large percentage of the people out there feel like they've got this job search process figured out already. They know how to interview. They know how to network already. They know how to get into companies. Let them share that knowledge with you. All right? And take it in, and don't give them the, yeah, but that wouldn't work because of this. And, well, that's not going to work because of that. I didn't hear any of that here today, by the way, and usually you hear a few of that. Few times people will say that. Instead of shutting them down on why it won't work, just take it in and listen to them. I really appreciate that. And as they feel like you're valuing their advice, you're creating a rapport with them. and then it's going to be easier for you to make connections and follow up on new positions. Does that make sense? And the key to the whole thing, as far as continuing the relationship, is your follow-up afterwards. If you don't have their email address, mailtester.com is a wonderful source that will tell you whether you can guess what their email address is. If you're trying to get an email address of somebody within a company, use their website address. Take a couple of guesses. First initial, last name. First name dot last name. First name, last initial. Put it in there. It'll tell you whether it's legit or not. That'sthem.com. Another great resource for, sorry if I'm your way. Another great resource for information on people. You get probably a little too much information on people, like the VIN numbers of their cars and things. It's a little creepy. But it's a great resource. It's free. I use it all the time when I'm trying to get information or track people down. Yes?
When I try to follow up on phone interviews, a lot of them don't want to give you their phone number or anything.
Okay.
It's up to you.
Absolutely, but you could get their card while you're. You couldn't get their card while you're on the phone with them. But if you can get their email address, or you get the email address of somebody at the organization, or do a Google search of the domain name to see what the pattern is for the company, meaning first name dot last name, and you can maybe figure out their email addresses and call them, or you've got the name of the person, you can call, leave a message for them.
Some of the phone numbers are blocked. What if what if you can't get a hold of them for some reason? They don't want to give you information.
Okay. Well, I mean, sometimes you're going to hit a wall, but if you're never looking for this information, you'll never get it. Okay. And you've got the main number of the company. You'll have the main number of the company. They won't hide that. And you can call the main receptionist and ask for the person individually, and that can help you get there as well. You can find them on LinkedIn to send them a message that way, or you can use Google+. If you're not on Google+, I would recommend you get on Google+. It's a great resource because you can create circles in Google+. Put that person into a circle, if you can find them. Make them the only person in that circle, and then you can broadcast a message to the entire circle. They're the only one in the circle, but it effectively sends an email to them so they can get one to their personal address. Yes?
Question regarding contacts. If you call a company blind, and Paul remembers this, I once did that, and because I had a contact of an HR professional, and someone told me, but please don't use my name. We have a relationship. I don't want her to think I'm just giving out my name. So at the time, a person suggested to use her name instead. So I called this person and said, introduced myself, and she said, "Who gave you my name?" And I said, "Joy McGuire Dooley gave me your name." And she said, "Who's Joy McGuire Dooley?" And I said, "Well, she's, she works at Township." Yeah, she's from Lowell Township, and she's runs Job Club and everything. And I don't know a Joy McGuire Dooley. Well, she knows you.
Nice.
So use my name.
So use Sarah's name.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's a great idea. Or just it was at a networking event, and I didn't get that person's permission to share their name, so I want to keep that confidential. But they spoke very, very highly of you, and be positive. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because I get that question all the time. How'd you get my name? And I used to fall back. Well, I'm a headhunter. That's what I do. And I was like, well, I've got a colleague of mine who gave me a colleague that we both know gave me your name. Didn't get his permission to share his name with you, but he spoke very highly of you, and they respect that.
Well, and a lot of times too, if you say you're in this interview and they're kind of reticent to, and you're having difficulty, you can ask for the email or phone number, and especially the email is kind of innocuous, and just say, "Oh, because I want to send you a thank you."
Exactly.
Yep. Who's gonna be grouchy enough to refuse that?
Right. Yeah. I gotta finish that for you to just say to say you're gonna send them. I'd love to send you a quick thank you, and what's your email address, and take a guess at it. Say, is it this, which is the company name, the company pattern, to follow up. So another great way to follow up with people, networking events, companies, whomever, most email clients have a feature called delay delivery. And that is a wonderful feature. Basically what you can do is, so if you meet somebody today, for example, for the first time, and you want to stay in touch with them and continue to build the relationship, write them an email today. Hey, that was great to meet you. I really appreciate that, blah, blah, blah. And then write them another email as if it's a month from now. Hey, hopefully you remember meeting me back at the Loud Job Club, and we were trying those hacks from this thing, and I just want to follow up about this. Write the email right now today. And then you're going to use this delay delivery feature. Always BCC yourself, blind carbon copy yourself, so you know that the email goes out, and set it so that it sends a month from now. Write another one that's going to ping them 3 months from now, and keep the relationship going, ongoing, because you never want to lose that contact with them, regardless of if you land or they do, and you're always going to be in touch, and the relationship continues to build.
Where do you actually locate that at on your email, the delay delivery?
So I can tell you for sure, if you use Outlook, it's right in the options across the top. I think it's the options tab across the top. They've got delay delivery. It's easiest there. Gmail, you kind of have to look for it a little bit. Gmail's got some great canned responses, which is also a great feature. Outlook, if you use signatures, which is another great hack I didn't even think to put on here. How many use Outlook versus Outlook? And then Gmail, the rest? Okay. So Gmail, well, I think you have to install it. It's an extra feature, but just Google it, you'll find an application that can do it. But like if you send the same email often, especially in Outlook, a lot of times you'd have to save a separate template in order to be able to send. What I do in Outlook is those signatures you can put on there, you can have as many signatures as you want. I have fully written out emails, multiple paragraph response emails that insert this signature. So you don't have to go and open a new email and then cut and paste, and it's fantastic for replying to people. But use those delay deliveries, and that's going to help you maintain the relationships. Yes, Leanne. I'm not totally sure about Yahoo, but that's a good. Most of them do.
Google,
delay delivery, right?
And YouTube, or there'll be plenty of information out there, step by step.
Yep.
Really easy.
Yep, and it'd be worth opening a Gmail account because it's free, and you can open one specific for your job search. So instead of saying whatever your very unique personal email address is, you can say the telecom guy at gmail.com, and they're like, wow, this guy loves telecom, kind of thing, and you can have one for the different job search avenues that you're looking for. So what about interviewing? So I've got a great interviewing hack for you. And several of you mentioned you have interviews coming up very soon. So on the same concept of you're a more valuable hire if you're going to bring multiple people with you, this can kind of help you achieve that same perception with the employer. So what if they ask you about some skill or technology or thing that you have no experience with whatsoever? Never heard of it before. What if an employer said to you, how do you set up a page parameter in XYZ technology? And you've never heard of XYZ technology. How would you answer that question? Can anybody tell me? Yes.
I would say I would follow what I have done for ABC technology.
Okay.
I'd go on my past experience and
okay.
To say that I'm not afraid of it.
Okay.
And I will proceed that way.
Okay. Okay. So she would bring up an example of something that you know to be similar, or another technology. Okay. And that's good. Anyone else?
I'd say that I'm not familiar with that, but this is what I am familiar with.
Okay.
Can I give you an example?
Okay.
See if not, he's got my answer that I'm not familiar with.
Okay, which is good. I'll tell you, in the technology world, the way that a vast majority of them answer these questions is some version of, I'm not familiar with that particular technology, but I'm a quick learner. Or I would love to learn. I love, thrive learning, which is also a great answer. You give them an example, here's how I learned something else. And usually the example is something along the lines of, I went into this company, they had this technology, and within a couple of days, I was up and running on it. Something to that effect. The concern, and my goal here, is to make you a better interviewer than everyone else. And those are fine answers. That's what most people are saying. The issue with that is that you're leaving it up to the interviewer to have to take your word for it. Maybe you are a quick learner, but then again, maybe you're not. And considering this is an interview, maybe you're feeding me full of what I want to hear right now, so let's move on. And nothing's really gained by that. So what I would suggest is to give them a step or two of how you would learn it. All right, what would you do to learn that thing? And here's where you then set yourself up to play a competitive advantage card if you have one. So if, for example, like Leanne was saying, you're a part of a professional association that you can reach out to and get answers. Or if you're studying for a certification, which many of you are, and you've hung on to those manuals, you've got access to those white papers and information that you can then pick up and learn information from. Now you can come back and say, you know, I'm not familiar with that particular technology, but here's what I would do if I was faced with that in the workplace. The first place I always go to is, I'm a member of this one association, and they have got people who are experts in this area. I can reach out to them, and I usually get answers very quickly, and that's how I get up to speed faster than most of my colleagues. Or I've got these manuals and things that I got from my certifications, you know, when I was studying for the certification. I've hung on to that stuff. I've got a very extensive library at home that I can reach into, and I can get that information very quickly. All right, so what the hiring manager hears is, number one, they see that you're a quick learner instead of just you telling them, right? You tell them they're a quick learner, they got to take your word for it. But if you show them, they're apt to believe you more readily. But on top of that, what they're going to hear is, okay, this person has access to this whole group of people who are experts in this area. So if I hire this person, now I'm going to have access to this whole group of people. And now you're you plus 1, plus 5, plus 10, and you're a more valuable hire, if that makes sense. Yes?
So, no, he's always about EMR, it's National Records.
Yep.
And I didn't know how to do it, so I went on, he suggested that you go online on YouTube and find out how to do it, and I did. So is that a good reason to give them?
That would show them how you would learn it, absolutely, yes. And if you can find a user group, you know, some kind of an association, or if you do get some additional information on top of it beyond just a YouTube, that would be helpful for you, because they'll feel like, hey, I can access YouTube as well. It's still valuable to tell them that so they can see how you would learn it versus just having to take your word for it that you can learn it. But if you can tell them, I've got access to something that other people don't have access to, that makes you a more valuable hire. If that makes sense. Okay? Okay. I'm not clicking my buttons now. So that makes you 2 for the price of one. So one other quick hack that I will share with you, and this will be on the /hacks page. I have a document that you can use that will help you on face-to-face interviews. Maybe not so much on phone interviews because they won't be able to see this, but it will get a lot of attributes about you across to the employer in a very concrete, almost evidentiary type of a way. All right, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but employers love people who have done their research. Would we all agree with that?
Of their company.
Of their company, absolutely. They love people who have been prepared for the meeting, who are prepared for that meeting. Right, walk in prepared. They love people who have planned questions for them. They love people who are organized and that take notes throughout the interview and that are very specifically interested in them. Does anybody disagree with any of those points? And would it be great if you could get all that across in a concrete kind of a way very quickly and easily in front of each employer that you go to? So I created what I call an interview influencer doc. It'll be on that page. You can just print it off, and I've got instructions on how to make this, how to put it together. But the top half of this document, this is a screenshot of their website. That's my website there, so that you all remember what it looks like. But you can put their website, a screenshot of their website, up on the top half of the document. Now, you're not doing this so that you can take the piece of paper and wave it, look, I printed off your website. That's not what you're doing here. First of all, hey, would you mind if I took some notes? And then you pull this document out and you put it on your lap. This is on your lap. If they're a fan of their own company or they're a manager at that company, they're going to recognize their own website like that, even if it's upside down and on your lap and you're not intentionally showing them. Right? They will see that. So now they're thinking, wow, this person printed off our website. They're interested. All right? They're researched for this meeting. And the top line in big bold letters says planned questions and notes. And you've got stuff written out there already. They're going to see that you're planned and you're prepared and you've done your research for this.
Particularly on their company.
On their company specifically, absolutely. Now across the bottom here, I've got these 5 little boxes. Now these are very, very general. I'll read them because there's no way you're going to read these from the back of the room. But they're all very, very general categories that would apply to any company that you interview with. Use the same boxes. So at the bottom it says, first box is good culture and people. You could say that about any company, right? That you can learn and grow at this organization is the second box. You could probably say that about any organization. Nice facility, good building, right? Same thing. Good commute for you. The X factor, that little, I don't know what it is, I just liked it kind of a factor. So now at the close of the interview, you're going through, do you have any other questions and anything else you'd like to share along those lines? You can stop and say, and you've been checking these boxes off as you go through the interview. You say, in my search, I've really been selective about who I've been looking for, and I've got 5 criteria that I'm looking for in the ideal employer. And I've checked all 5 of my boxes here. So I hope that you think this went as well as I did. I would love to work for you. Bull. Right? That's like, wow, this person has got this checked off. It's proof that this is the perfect company for this person. Your interest in them will create interest in you. Right? It's the best way to get a company interested in you is to show interest in them. Right? So like, for example, I'm going to go off script here just a little bit. So like, what if somebody was to ask you where you see yourself 5 years from now?
Be with them.
Be with them. Okay. So good answer, but kind of general.
No, I don't have to be a little more specific.
So let's get specific. Let's pretend it's an interview. You got an interview coming up today. Some people do. What would you say? They say, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? What do you tell them?
Well, from what I've heard about your company and the research I've done at your company and from what you have shared with me, this is a place I would like to work for a long period of time.
Okay. Which is good. What else? We have other answers, and I'll come back to this.
Promotion. In 5 years, you plan on seeing companies grow too.
Okay. So, but what about where you see yourself?
Well, you see yourself
Okay. In a promotion.
And as the company's growing too.
Okay, as the company's growing. Okay, and moving into a management level role. And usually if I went around the room and forced everybody to give me an answer to this, which I won't, we usually come out with one of 2 kind of answers. Either one is I'd like to be in a more senior role, a management role or a promotion down the line. The other one is I really enjoy what I'm doing and hopefully I'm still doing that thing. Right? One of those 2 options. Anybody is totally off from that? Okay. So if you're going to get a promotion or get into another role, you always want to start your answer out with after I've been successful in this role, my goal is to, so they know your priority is to be successful in the position that you're interviewing for, and then talk about whatever you're going to go to. And if you want to keep doing whatever it is that you're interviewing for, to use some sort of an emotion, passion-driven word, impassioned word, like, I love working with EMR technologies, and I hope 5 years from now I'm still working with EMR technologies because this is what I love doing. So, and the concept behind that is just kind of playing off of human nature, just human psychology. If I have something that I know you really want, let's say, for example, you really want, one of these things, right? And I know I've got 100 of them in my car. I got them for free. It's not a big deal to me, but you would just love to have one of these. And you make that clear to me that you would love to have one of these. I'm going to feel compelled to want to give that thing to you, right? I'm going to feel drawn to you and I want to give you that thing. So as you tell them, I love EMR records and I hope I'm still working with EMR records 5 years from now, And they've got a job where you can be doing that, you know, while they're not going to say, oh, well, then here's the job. Obviously, they're not going to do that. But you're just giving them one more little reason to want to give that to you. Okay? So that draws them to you psychologically. Now, both of those answers are fine answers, but the one thing you can do to really, really set yourself apart from everybody else in an enormous way, and in my opinion, the most important part of any interview that you go on, is to show very, very specific interest in them. You know, very, very particular, specific interest in that position in that company. Right? So now it's, you know, hopefully 5 years from now, you know, after I've been successful in this role, my goal is to move up into a more senior level management role and continue to grow as the company grows, but hopefully within a company like XYZ, because it's in the financial district and I love working in the financial district, and because I know you're working with EMR technologies and I love EMR technologies, because, right? And that's going to draw them to you. I know it doesn't always make the point as strongly as I want to as I go through that example. So I'm going to give you a really bizarro, offbeat example that's going to make the point, I promise. But I'm going to kind of use you. It's Fabian? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to use you just as my example here.
Okay.
So let's say hypothetically there are two guys who want to take you to a dance. Hypothetically, okay. Right? Both the guys, everything's the same about these two guys. All right. Hypothetically, you're available to go to this dance. The first one walks up and says, Fabian, you're such a nice person and so helpful to people in here, and I hear you're a great dancer. It would just be a blast if you would go to this dance with me. Would you go? And then the second one walks up and says, you know what? There's a dance across town. I really don't care who I go with. I hear you didn't have a date. You want to go? Which of the two do you want to go with? Right. The guy who wants to go with you.
You feel real special.
Exactly. But that's just it. The way that you express your interest in the company gives them that same feeling. You know what I mean? If they've got two candidates they're looking at, they both have the same experience, the same salary, the same everything, but one of them really wants this job for a whole list of reasons. The other person, they just want to be a manager someplace, a promotion down the line, they don't care where. That's going to tip the scale in your favor every time, because from the employer's perspective, you're going to bring all these intangibles to the job that the other person won't, because you're so excited to be there. Right? Your interest in them will create interest in you. And you know where this especially applies, and I can tell you, well over half of the people that I call every day answer the phone like this. I call them, they apply to one of my jobs, I call them about that job, and then they say, I'm sorry, can you describe the position a little bit? It's just I'm sending my resume out to so many places. I don't remember what position this is. That's the equivalent of saying, I'm sorry, can you describe yourself too? It's just I gave my number out to so many people last night. I don't remember what you know, that's the feeling that you're giving them. You know, it's like, wow, you really know how to make an employer feel special. Versus the people that say, oh, this must be drive staff. You're calling about that Oracle spot. I'm so glad you called. Gives a whole different impression. Now, is that going to make a difference on whether we hire the person or not? No. But it's going to give you an edge over that other person who had no idea who I was.
That didn't get called.
Right, right. So just kind of food for thought. Showing specific interest in this document will definitely help you to do that. So I would encourage you to go and print that off. So connecting with employers. So how do we connect with employers as far as some hacks? Well, first of all, you got to find more employers, right? And I would, Kurt in the purple, I would love to talk to you about your ways of developing target lists. You mentioned you've got great ways of developing target lists. Here's mine to add to your arsenal. But if we could share a conversation, I'm always looking for new ways to do that. One way that I have found to be effective is to go to LinkedIn and search for people who do what you do in your area. All right, even if you've got a very unique thing like EMR records, look for people who work with EMR. Sorry to keep picking on you, Mark. All right, I'm realizing I'm just focusing everything on you. But look for people who do specifically what you do in your area. All right, and then you're going to open up their profiles to see what companies hired them to do that thing. That's a great list of target companies to start going after, because you know those companies hire people who do what you do in your area. All right, so that's a great way to get some new companies and add them to your list. And then instead of applying first, what if we network our way in? All right, now I'm going to share with you a great networking technique. I know several of you have seen this before, so if you can bear with me. But it's very, very effective, and it really works. So we're going to use LinkedIn. Now, the second most popular way to land a job, first most is networking. Second most popular way to land a job is through employee referral programs. Does everybody know what an employee referral program is? A couple of shakes. So they would put a notice out to all the employees to say, hey, if you refer somebody in and we hire them, we'll cut you a check for $1,000 or $5,000 or give you a gift card to the movies for $50 or whatever it is. It's the second most popular way to land a job, which means tons of companies have them, okay? And they work. So what we're going to do is send a couple of emails through LinkedIn, right? So you're going to do some research on LinkedIn looking for people who work in the department that you would like to work at in that company. You with me? And then we're going to send them these emails. This is the first one. This gets very texty. Again, the slides will be at speedupmyjobsearch.com/hacks by the end of the day. It's not there yet, but it will be. So the first one is going to be some version of this. Use your own language, but something to the effect of, hey, Joe, I found your name through a connection on LinkedIn, and because I was about to apply to a position with your organization, but before I did, I was hoping to get some insight into the company and find out a little bit about the culture there. Since you're currently working there, I was wondering if you can share some insights with me and what you thought of the place. I appreciate your time and any insight that you might provide.
So these may not be necessarily people you know.
These are definitely people you don't know. All right? I shouldn't say definitely. They're more likely people you don't know. This is a great way to connect with people and network with people who you don't know to get an inside connection. Now, does this come across as a spammy message to anybody?
Nice and clear.
It's just very, hey, can you help me out? You know, I've got this, I just want to know about the company. All right? Asking for advice, exactly right. That's what it's doing. Human nature is they're going to want to respond. Now, not everybody checks their LinkedIn messages, so it's not going to work every time. But your percentage chance of getting a response is pretty good with this. Yes?
Just a question. Does LinkedIn still have a limit on how many email messages you can send?
It does, but you can put this in your invitation request to connect with them. Now, LinkedIn changes their message character lengths constantly, so this may fit in there today, and tomorrow it might not. It might not today, I don't know. But this is a great way. Put something like that just a little bit more succinct. I tend to talk a lot, so I make a long paragraph. But if they respond to this, now you're developing a rapport. You're going to thank them, ask them, and offer them. So you're going to say, hey, thanks, Joe. I really appreciate you getting back to me. Based on your feedback, I will go ahead with my application for the RPG programmer position. Do you know who I should talk to about applying for that role other than just applying online like everybody else? If they reply to that, you are light years ahead of the hundreds of people who are applying online. Right? And you're way ahead of them.
Right to the source.
But we're not done. Continue on. Actually, does your company offer any sort of an employee referral bonus? If you take a quick glance at my profile on LinkedIn, you think it makes sense for me to apply. If you like, I can send you my resume directly. You can present it to the appropriate person and potentially earn that bonus if I'm hired. I appreciate any consideration. You know, thanks again. I appreciate your consideration. Now you've got an internal employee lobbying on your behalf to help you get that job selfishly so they can earn that bonus. But what does that matter to you? And your likelihood of getting in is so much better. A trustworthy referral. You're bypassing the screening process. Your chances of getting there are so much better. If you do that to all of your target companies, wait for a response. I wouldn't wait more than a day before you apply. Don't wait weeks because the job could be gone by then. But at least give it a chance to work for you. This works. I promise you this works. I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of people tell me that they used this to get a job. The way that I got this was a very close friend of mine is the director of talent acquisition for his mom was in failing health who lived in St. Louis. He needed to get a job in St. Louis. He sent those exact emails to people and then became the director of talent acquisition. This absolutely works. If you try it, but you got to try it. Questions?
You know, this is great because, you know, previously it's like I felt like I really needed to know a person before I made that ask.
Right.
But this sounds very personable and very warm and
Yep.
very up to date. So
Good. Well, and also keep in mind that LinkedIn, a lot of people will only connect with people that they personally know. And I would suggest that with LinkedIn, at Facebook, yes, absolutely get to know them first because they're getting to know your personal family stuff. But with LinkedIn, I mean, you're not jumping in an unmarked van and heading down a dark alley with these people. You're simply sharing your work profile. LinkedIn is a research tool. It is meant as a search engine to help people connect professionally. The more people you're connected to, when you do that search to see who you know that does what you do in your area, if you're only connected with people you've met personally, that's going to be a very small list. But if you connect with people who have lots of connections and you get lots of connections, you're going to see more profiles. You can see all the profiles of the people you're connected to, of the people they're connected to, and your group contacts. So expand that as much as possible. If you want to expand your network quickly, send me an invite today. I respond to everybody and I endorse your profile. I'm connected to over 14,500 people personally. You'll see all of their profiles, and that will help you with the research. So I'm sorry to stall you, Rita.
What if there isn't a position open currently?
Okay.
But you want to, just kind of say, okay, kind of infer that you want them to keep an eye out for a position. If you just rephrase that something like, I hope to work for a position. You hope to work for this.
Yes, absolutely. I would put it as, I have got a short list of companies that are my target companies that I would really love to work for, and your company is on that short list. I was wondering if you could share some insight on the rest of it. Now, if you have got 300 companies on your short list, do you know how many companies are in the Chicago area? Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. 300 is a very short list. So you can still say that honestly. Okay? So, anything else?
So even though this is the right way to go by, I definitely agree with this. But because of time constraints, if they're not responding quick enough, like you mentioned before, still apply for that position
the next
regardless.
day. Yes. The next day I would apply to that position.
Okay.
Yep. So how do you help them to find you? So here's the other thing a lot of people don't think about is that recruiters and companies are actively searching the internet for you on a daily basis. We're running searches literally every day looking for people. How do you do that? Especially on LinkedIn, we're looking. Now on LinkedIn, there's a new applicant tracking system out there. I guess it's not new anymore, it's a few years old, but called LinkedIn Recruiter, which basically is the applicant tracking system that lets you access everybody in LinkedIn. So they're going to do searches on there, and you want to make your profile easier to find. Number one, because there's so many people on LinkedIn, the way it's going to kind of reduce the results list when we look for people, and by the way, if a company signs up for LinkedIn Recruiter, it's like somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000 per seat. So they're not using multiple applicant tracking systems, they're just using this one for the ones that are using it. It will reduce that number by the number of connections you have. If you have less than 500 connections, you will not come up in their search results. You need to have over 500 connections.
That's where that magic 500 comes
yes.
from.
And 1,000.
Right. And 1,000?
Yeah, I think 1,000 too.
I haven't seen that yet, but I'll ask. I've got a very close friend of mine who uses LinkedIn Recruiter. I'll ask him that.
Right.
But if you need to get over 500 connections, easy hack right here. I didn't put it on the screen, and I should have. So do a search for, and put this in quotes, I never IDK. IDK in all caps. I never IDK in quotes. Do a search for that. And that's going to bring up anybody who has that phrase on their profile. I never IDK says, if you send me an invite to connect and I don't know you, I'm not going to click that little button that says I don't know you. I'll accept it. They're saying, please send me an invite. If you send somebody an invite that doesn't know you and they click the I don't know button, if you get enough of those, LinkedIn's going to freeze your account. And you don't want that. Find these people that say I never IDK and just start hitting connect, 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 connect. Isolate it down by U.S. I do, only U.S. only myself. Or maybe just in the Chicago area. There's thousands of them. and you can do it. I do like 50 a day or 100 a day to get over that 500 mark, and you're already there automatically.
Why would they freeze your account?
Because you're blindly just trying to advertise and market to people. So they're trying to limit the salespeople who are just looking for a free email list of tens of thousands of people. Yes, Leanne. But you can get into groups.
Yes.
So do a null search for groups. So in that little box, leave the box.
You might find those people that way too.
Right. So do a search in LinkedIn with the box empty, and just hit search, and then you get the topics on how you can isolate it down. Click on groups, and it will list all the groups in LinkedIn in order of the size, largest to smallest. Join all the largest ones. You will increase your reach by 20 million people today. So let me keep going if I can. We've got about 15 minutes. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So in your on your profile itself, one thing you want to think about with your LinkedIn profile, this is basically your own personal website, right? So you want to use the SEO concepts here, search engine optimization, so that you come up in more searches. All right. So with your title, there's your name and then there's your title underneath it. You've got 120 characters there. Fill that with all the synonyms of the job titles you want. The employers, when they do a search in LinkedIn, they're not searching for the word experience or the word worked at or any of those, the additional words that don't mean what you do, right? So fill that in with the titles of the positions that you want, and you can make it look nice. Put a little. I've got like a little round ball, big dot thing between each of my titles. If you go to mine, just copy and paste that right off my profile. It's fine. I took it from someone else who told me to do the same thing. And really a lot of this stems from Dennis Curtin. He gives me a lot of the advice on LinkedIn. He's fantastic. But you want to fill that in with as many words as possible. Your summary, your work experience, make that stuff keyword rich so that you'll come up in more searches. All right? You want to endorse and recommend other people, because then your name and profile and picture show up on their profiles. So if you're on somebody's profile that has tons of connections or gets tons of views, people can stumble onto your profile, and you're going to be found a little bit more easily. All right, so you want to think about, how do I get my profile in front of more people, find people that have tons of connections in your network that you can connect with, and endorse and recommend them. Now, I will say that if you do a YouTube search on LinkedIn profile advice, the #1 video right now on LinkedIn profile advice, it's very nicely done. She's very, very well constructed. She gives 6 wonderful tips on how to put your profile together. If you follow all 6 of those tips, 3 of those tips will directly harm your job search. Directly. You will not be found as easily because you implemented those tips. So I put together a video called How to Spot Bad Job Search Advice. I would encourage you and recommend you please go look at this video so you know how to spot those other videos. I don't know why those other videos are getting hundreds of likes, and that's fantastic, but she's really giving harmful advice. So 3 of those tips, and I'll show you why in my video, why they're bad for you. And there's lots of videos out there with job search advice where people they're trying to sell their books, and that's fantastic, but you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation. So just please go watch that video if you would. So, and that's on my YouTube channel, is youtube.com/speedupmyjobsearch. You want to make your resume easier to find as well. And I'm going to run through this very, very quickly. You don't have to write this down, but I'll show you why you need to do these things with this. So recruiters do what's called advanced search strings in Google. They'll put in an advanced search string so we can find resumes that nobody else can find. All right, so what I would do is I would put in this search string, and recruiters have been doing this forever. I have been training recruiters on different search tactics. The first time I gave a presentation on this to a room full of recruiters was in 2003. If that gives you an idea of how long they've been doing this exact thing, and it's happening by thousands of recruiters all over the world. So we're going to put in here the word resume with a little tilde in front of it. That means I want responses with websites or pages or things that have the word resume in it. I'm going to use in quotes SQL Server because I'm looking for a SQL Server DBA, which I am looking for a SQL Server DBA, by the way, if anyone knows one. Throw that out there. I'm going to put in parentheses Illinois and then a little pipe, which is the vertical line, which means or, and then IL. So if the word Illinois or IL is on the page, either one of those, I want that in my results. And then this next one, this is where I want you to pay attention. So in parentheses, I'm going to put a little minus sign in the word jobs, and the little minus sign in the word apply, and the word submit, and example, and benefits. The reason I'm doing that is these are all words that I do not want to come up in my search results. Because if I don't do that, I'm going to come up with thousands and thousands of listings of jobs. I don't want jobs. I want resumes. I want to find people. I don't want to find companies that are looking for people. All right? What I'm getting at with this is if your resume has one of those words on it, you're not coming up in my results. You with me? So do a search through your resume to see if you have the word jobs on your resume, or apply, or submit, or sample, or example, or benefits. Because all those words are going to be on job descriptions, and you're not going to come up in my search results when I'm trying to find your resume online.
So instead of saying, for example, you can say E.G.
You could do that, or you could just state the thing. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so just something to think about if you want more employers to be able to find you. They're running these searches every day, hundreds of times a day.
Well, if it's somebody in HR, do you think they will put benefits in there?
Hopefully it's a different
most likely not,
list.
right?
It'll be a different, potentially a different list? Right. Yes, absolutely. But the idea is we're trying to eliminate the job descriptions. Yes.
So where is exactly my resume online? I have.
Oh, if you have it anywhere. If you have it with your alumni association. If I run a search like that, I can go in the back door of your alumni association database and go get those resumes. If you have it sitting on your LinkedIn profile, if you have it sitting on your own personal website, if you have it sitting anywhere, if you have it sitting on a Yahoo group for a local job club, which, by the way, if there's a way I can post in there, I would love to.
So could you put, like, I'm just thinking, could I put my name in there too as well and search and see if I...
Yes, definitely, yep.
So that'd be a quick way to say,
Yep, it's coming up, or it's not coming up, absolutely, yep. So social media, this will be very quick, I've got like 5 minutes left. As far as social media hacks, so social media, a lot of people get intimidated, thinking, what am I going to have to do with social media? I would definitely have an account across Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google+. Even if you're not going to use them on a daily basis, you're going to help other people find you. Some employers only search Twitter. Some of them only use Google+. And Google+, by the way, your profile will come up in more searches because Google's algorithm is going to obviously put their own stuff first in the search results. So have your stuff searchable in Google+ as well. But make sure you have an account across all of them. It's free, and it'll help more employers find you. Now, how do you get in front of more employers? By posting stuff that's relevant for your industry on a regular basis. What a time-consuming, horrible thing that is. Here's a couple hacks on how to do that. Use Feedly.com. You want to find an article on anything? Go to Feedly.com and put that subject in, and it's going to give you every site that publishes articles on that thing. Okay? You meet somebody at a networking event, they're really into kayaking, put kayaking in there and say, hey, I saw this article, I just thought I'd send it to you. All right, now if you want to post on social media on a regular basis, there's a site called Buffer.com. And what you can do is set specific times throughout the week, like every Monday night at 7, and every Wednesday at 4, and every Saturday at 2. Those are my post times. And as you come across these articles that you found on Feedly, you just say, add to my buffer, add to my buffer, add to my buffer. And it's only going to post them at the times that are queued up. Right? So now you've got a backlog of articles that are going to automatically get queued. Is anybody connected to me on social media in here? A few people? Okay, so you see I post kind of all the time, right? I'm not sitting online posting all the time. I've got a program that's automatically posting at 4:40 a.m., at 11:40 a.m., at 4:40 in the afternoon, at 4:30, right? I used to use Buffer, but I've moved on to another program called Meet Edgar. It's $50 a month. Buffer is free. It posts for you. That way I'm always in front of people so you remember who I am. If you need a tech recruiter, you'll remember me, or if you need to hire a tech person, hopefully you'll remember me. But it's the way I stay in front of people, and it's the way you can stay in front of clients as well. But the other thing is when you see somebody on LinkedIn that just landed, and you can click that button that says, congrats on your new job, they're going to get about 300 of those if they have a lot of connections. and you're not going to stand out to anybody. So what you want to do is try to personal message them. If you're connected to them first degree, you can get their email address, but you want to use this strategically. Write them an email to say, congratulations, I saw you landed at such and such a company, great company. I saw this article on them, which you found on Feedly. Send them that article. Now write them another email for a month later. Hey, by the way, I noticed, or I just want to check in, how's the new job going? By the way, there's this great site you should go to. Send them to speedupmyjobsearch.com/landed. After you land, don't go look at the videos early, but after you land, I've got a great onboarding process. Here's some great things you want to look at when you first start a new company so they can feel good about how they started their new job. And it will send them emails as they continue to go. Hey, it's been 3 months. You should look for these things. Hey, it's 6 months. You should look for these things. Stay in touch with them. Use that delayed delivery so you can stay in touch. And now you've got a connection inside some company that can then refer you. By the way, does that company have any kind of employee referral program that you can present my information through? Buy these congrats buttons. You can use them strategically. The other one is using endorsements wisely. Endorsements are people usually that you don't know endorsing you for skills that you don't have. This morning connected with me and endorsed me for a whole bunch of stuff. College recruiting, benefits negotiation. Awesome. I don't do college recruiting or benefits negotiation, or a lot of the stuff that he endorsed me for. Great. But you know what? This is a warm lead. Go to his profile, well, not his profile, but somebody who endorses you. Check out their company profile page. Are they hiring somebody who works the same way as you do? By the way, do you have any kind of employee referral program? From useless endorsements, it's a great way to be strategic about what you're doing. So if you're deliberate about your behaviors, networking with people who could hire you, increasing your value during your interviews, connecting with more employers, maximizing your time on social media, would you land faster than somebody who wasn't? Yes. Right? Absolutely. So definitely study the job of getting a job. Martin Yates got a bunch of great books. Harvey McKay, he's like a business tycoon, but he's also written a book called Using Your Head to Get Your Foot in the Door. Great book. My favorite is Success is a Choice, which is a wonderful book. It is nothing about job search, but it is everything about job search. The premise behind this book is you choose to show up to the interview on time. You choose to try one of these hacks. You choose to leave here and tell someone that you're going to try one of these hacks. Success is up to you and the decisions that you make. It's a wonderful book. I would highly recommend you check that out. This is my website. It's all very behavior-based. It's very, very much cause and effect. You know, if you have a better LinkedIn profile, you're going to get more employers finding you. If you have a better resume, you're going to get more responses. If you network strategically, you're going to get more calls. If you have a good follow-up plan, you're going to get more interviews. This causes that, and that can help you. So, and there's my info. I would strongly recommend, please check out the YouTube channel. I got tons of videos out there. If you have questions about anything, there's my contact info. If you send me an invite to connect, I will accept it. And thanks for your time.